Good morning, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. It's Thursday, April 17th, 2025, and this is your AM update.
He punched and scratched his wife, ripped off her shirt, and grabbed and bruised her.
New details emerging about the so-called Maryland father portrayed sympathetically in the press, revealing a violent history excluded from the headlines.
He's really twisted himself in knots. But Jeb Boasberg does not care. He doesn't care that he was overturned by the Supreme Court. He is only devoted to helping Trump foes and the media.
Reporter Julie Kelly joins us with an exclusive breakdown of Judge Boasberg's new ruling accusing the Trump administration of defying his court order. RFK breaks with the CDC, calling autism an epidemic and vowing to uncover the cause. All that and more coming up in just a moment on your AM update. Now more than ever, it's important to shop with brands that share your values. And that's why I want to tell you about Nimi Skincare. Built on faith, family, and freedom, Nimi is proudly pro-America. With products made right here in the USA, they don't shy away from what they believe. While most skincare brands are busy pushing progressive messaging, Nimi never did, and women across the country noticed. And the products? Incredible. From gentle cleansers to age-defying creams, Nimi offers clean, fragrance-free formulas, love the fragrance-free, that are safe for sensitive skin like mine and powerful enough to deliver real results. Get 10% off your order at NimiSkincare.com by using the code MK at checkout. That's NIMI Skincare.com. If you're tired of giving your money to companies that do not respect your values, consider making the switch. Nimi Skincare, where modern skincare meets timeless values. As Democrats lionize Kilmar Abrego Garcia, an illegal immigrant and accused MS-13 gang member, the Trump administration highlighting some facts about his past. Mr. Abrego Garcia, currently at the center of a battle between the Trump administration and a district court judge ordering his return to the U.S. from El Salvador. Democrats and members of the media portraying Mr. Abrego Garcia as a Maryland dad, wrongfully swept up in a wide-ranging and reckless crackdown on illegal immigration. Democrat Senator from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, actually boarding a flight to El Salvador to demand Mr. Abrego Garcia's return.
I just landed at the airport in San Salvador a little while ago. I'm now en route into the city. Looking forward to meeting with the team from the American Embassy. The goal of my visit is to talk to people here about the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I told his wife and his family I would do everything possible to bring him home, and we're going to keep working at this.
The senator was denied entry to the prison. The DOJ on Wednesday releasing documents supporting claims that Mr. Abrego Garcia was an active member of MS-13 at the time of his March 2019 arrest. One record, a Prince George's County Police gang interview sheet, describes Garcia as wearing gang-associated clothing, including a hoodie with imagery meant to symbolize see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Oh, by the way, he was with two other MS-13 gang members. A reliable informant identifying Mr. Abrego Garcia as an active MS-13 member with the Westerns clique described his rank as Chiqueo and his gang name as Chele. AG Bondi also releasing court documents from two immigration judges affirming that the evidence supports Mr. Abrego Garcia's membership in MS-13. Also coming to light on Wednesday, new details about Mr. Abrego Garcia's disturbing past. The Tennessee Star reporting a troubling incident from December 2022. Tennessee Highway Patrol reportedly stopped Kilmar Abrego Garcia, immediately suspecting human trafficking. The officer finding Mr. Abrego Garcia was driving without a valid license, transporting 7 passengers from Texas to Maryland. One source telling the Star Mr. Abrego Garcia was on a terror watch list, while another said, no, that was actually just one of his passengers. Cops contacted the FBI, then under Director Christopher Wray, and according to the Star, the FBI instructed the officers to release all 8 individuals. Additionally, journalist Andy Ngo revealing protective orders sought by Garcia's wife against him in 2020 and 2021. She has been telling the press in recent days that he was the ideal husband and father. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt addressing the details of that 2021 protective order at a press briefing.
Abrego Garcia's wife petitioned for an order of protection against him for 2 instances of domestic violence in May of 2021. The court ordered that the respondent committed the following acts of abuse. Once in May of 2021, assault in any degree. And on May 4th of 2021, he punched and scratched his wife, ripped off her shirt, and grabbed and bruised her. This is from a court in Maryland. So not only are Democrats rushing to defend an illegal criminal foreign terrorist gang member, but also an apparent woman beater.
In an extraordinary moment yesterday, Ms. Leavitt then stepping aside and giving the microphone to someone she said the press has ignored for too long, Patty Morin, the mother of Rachel Morin. On Tuesday, Rachel's killer, also an illegal immigrant from El Salvador, was convicted on all 4 charges, including rape and murder. Rachel was jogging on a popular trail in Maryland when her life was brought to an unthinkable end. Patty Morin, her mom, gave never-before-revealed details of her daughter's final moments, and a warning, the details are graphic.
He waited for her to come closer. He dragged her 150 feet. He picked her up. He threw her against the wall of the tunnel, and he raped her. Her beautiful face bashed in. He drags her through the thorn bushes. She has all the scrapes and cuts on her body. There wasn't 1 inch of her body that didn't have some kind of injury. And they showed us pictures of her body against the wall, outlined. The blood outlined her body. And you could see where the blood ran down around her as he was raping her. And then he threw her down and raped her some more. And then he strangled her because he didn't want her to be able to live to tell the story.
Ms. Morin's remarks leaving the briefing room in stunned silence, those remarks ending with a powerful plea.
These are the kind of criminals President Trump wants to remove from our country. These are the kind of criminals that we need to remove from our country. We are American citizens. Why should we allow people like this, violent criminals that have no conscience at all, to murder our mothers, our sisters, our daughters? Tell the truth.
Yeah.
Tell how violent it really is. This is about protecting our children. It's more than just politics or votes or just anything. It's about national security, protecting Americans, protecting our children.
On Wednesday, U.S. District Court Judge James Boasberg ruling there is probable cause to charge members of the Trump administration with criminal contempt, accusing officials of violating a court order when they failed to return 2 planes of Venezuelan nationals who were deported under the Alien Enemies Act. The dispute stemming from a verbal directive Boseberg gave from the bench, demanding that the planes be turned around mid-air. That piece of the order was not included in a later written directive issued after the planes were out of U.S. airspace. Judge Boseberg writing, quote, "The court ultimately determines that the government's actions on that day demonstrate a willful disregard for its order." The contempt finding comes despite the fact that the U.S. Supreme Court has already ruled against Judge Boseberg in this case, finding that the matter was filed in the wrong court, meaning Judge Boseberg lacked the authority to issue the restraining order in the first place. We spoke with Julie Kelly, who's been covering this case. She's a reporter for Declassified on Substack. She says Judge Boseberg is way out of bounds.
I mean, it's sort of fascinating to read this 46-page opinion that Judge Boasberg issued and still arguing that somehow these temporary restraining orders that have been vacated by the Supreme Court last week are somehow still in play and can be the basis for a contempt, criminal contempt investigation into Trump officials. He is citing certain case law. Now, none of it deals with the very delicate balance between the judiciary and executive branch, but he claims that any court order, regardless of its ultimate fate, and in this case, 2 written orders overturned by the Supreme Court, still have to be abided by as it's headed towards the appellate and then Supreme Court level. So that's sort of stunning. I'm not really sure how the Supreme Court is going to respond to this. Of course, obviously, the Trump DOJ is going to immediately appeal this.
Judge Boasberg warning the DOJ that if it does not enforce his now vacated order to get those planes back, the court will identify the Trump officials responsible and recommend that they be prosecuted for contempt. He says if the DOJ refuses to pursue the case for criminal contempt against the Trump administration, he will appoint another prosecutor to do it. More from Julie Kelly.
Jeb Boasberg has, saying, well, if the DOJ won't pursue criminal charges for contempt, then the court can appoint an attorney to do just that. And this is what Jeb Boasberg has just threatened in this order as well. Even more stunning is that he says the way to remedy any contempt investigation or charges is to abide by his temporary restraining order to return these Venezuelans who were on those 2 planes on March 15th. But that temporary restraining order is null and void because it's been vacated by the Supreme Court. So he's really twisted himself in knots. But Jeb Boasberg does not care. He doesn't care that he was overturned by the Supreme Court. He is only devoted to helping Trump foes and the media and the Democrats seed this idea that Donald Trump and his White House are routinely in violation of court orders. So not really sure where this is going to go from here. He gave some deadlines for next week, but he's also threatening that he will hold more hearings, seek witness depositions, and take other steps to advance this contempt investigation.
The White House filing an appeal of that contempt order on Wednesday evening. White House Communications Director Stephen Chung posting to X, quote, "The president is 100% committed to ensuring that terrorists and criminal illegal migrants are no longer a threat to Americans and their communities across the country." Coming up, RFKJ breaks with the CDC, calling autism an epidemic and vowing to uncover the cause. And one of the IRS whistleblowers who revealed the DOJ bullied the IRS to stymie the tax investigation into Hunter Biden is now running the tax agency. The IRS is the largest collection agency in the world. And with April 15th fast approaching, it's more aggressive than ever. Oh, joy. If you owe back taxes or you have unfiled returns, waiting is not an option. Not a good one. April 15th could mark another tax year that has passed you by and stressed you out. So the smart move is get ahead of it now. But listen, never contact the IRS alone. That's crazy talk. Instead, you could let the experts at Tax Network USA handle this problem for you. Why? Well, not all tax resolution companies are the same. Tax Network USA has a preferred direct line to the IRS, so they know exactly which agents to deal with and which to avoid. With proven strategies to settle tax problems in your favor, whether you owe 10 grand or 10 million, Tax Network USA's attorneys and negotiators have already resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. Speak with one of their strategists today for free. Don't let the IRS control your future. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Megyn. That's tnusa.com/Megyn. April 15th is just around the corner. Act now, people, before the IRS acts first. HHS Secretary RFK Jr. holding a press conference Wednesday following a new CDC report showing a sharp rise in autism diagnoses. The study finding 1 in 31 children now diagnosed with autism. That's up from 1 in 10,000 in the early 1990s. The CDC suggesting the rise is due to improved identification and broader awareness, noting, quote, research has not demonstrated that living in certain communities puts children at greater risk for developing ASD. Differences in the prevalence of children identified with ASD across communities might be due to differences in availability of services for early detection and evaluation and diagnostic practices. RFKJ pushing back on that, calling autism an epidemic, arguing that better diagnostic tools alone do not explain such a dramatic surge.
One of the things that I think that we need to move away from today is this ideology that the autism prevalence increases, the relentless increases, are simply artifacts of better diagnoses. This epidemic denial has become a feature in the mainstream media, and it's based on an industry canard. And obviously, there are people who don't want us to look at environmental exposures. Then why are we not seeing it in older people? Why is this only happening in young people? Anybody can look around and see that this is a canard. Why is it so pervasive? Why has it been thrown up against us for so many years? And clearly, there are industries. This is coming from an environmental toxin, and somebody made a profit by putting that environmental toxin into our air, our water, our medicines, our food.
Since taking over HHS, RFKJ making food safety a top priority, highlighting thousands of chemicals in the U.S. food and drug supply that are banned in Europe. Secretary Kennedy saying genetics may play a role in autism, but insisting it is only part of the story.
This is a preventable disease. We know it's an environmental exposure. It has to be. Genes do not cause epidemics. They can provide a vulnerability. You need an environmental toxin. And Irva Hertz-Pichota pointed out that because of this mythology, that the amount of money and resources put into studying genetic causes, which is a dead end, has been historically 10 to 20 times the amount spent by NIH and other agencies to study environmental factors, to study exposures, to study external factors, and that's where we're going to find the answer.
Under Mr. Kennedy's leadership, HHS is undergoing a major reorganization, urging scientists to challenge conventional thinking and re-examine autism causes long dismissed by the medical establishment. The secretary promising that by September, the agency will begin delivering research on the true causes of autism. The IRS whistleblower who accused the DOJ of undermining his investigation into Hunter Biden is now running the tax agency he says was bullied. Gary Shapley on Wednesday named acting commissioner of the IRS. Mr. Shapley first coming forward in 2023, detailing how the Justice Department deliberately slow-walked the IRS's Hunter Biden investigation to shield then-candidate Joe Biden. Mr. Shapley telling Congress that DOJ tax made a concerted effort to slow-walk this case so that they could get it into the period in which the DOJ will not bring charges due to its rule of thumb against doing anything that might affect an election. Mr. Shapley, later facing retaliation from IRS officials, told to either accept a demotion or resign. Resisting the pressure, Mr. Shapley, who was running herd on the investigation at IRS, filed a retaliation claim with the Office of Special Counsel, which ultimately ruled in his favor. In June 2023, on The Megyn Kelly Show, Mr. Shapley explaining why he decided to go public.
We're doing the right thing. And the mission of IRSCI is to instill confidence in the tax code. That we make sure that people are being treated equally and fairly. There's two IRS agents, standing up and saying, this person got preferential treatment. And, if it was a business owner on the corner, he or she wouldn't have gotten that special treatment, and probably would have been in jail already. So that's what I say to America. I mean, we're here. We're the big bad IRS, and we're here fighting for you because it needs to be a fair application of justice.
Justice, indeed. And that'll do it for your AM update. I'm Megyn Kelly. Join me back here for The Megyn Kelly Show, live on SiriusXM Triumph Channel 111 at noon East, on youtube.com/Megyn Kelly, and on all podcast platforms.